Good morning, my brothers and sisters. On this, our very first spoiler cast of this year for a non-GMG VGBC game, or a Good Morning Guys video game book club game. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night as we talk about the downright diabolical and radically rad roguelite Hades. I am one of your two hosts tonight, the Brazilian boon buying mountaineer and transition demigod Zagreus Ham Swisher. Also with me, the judge, the jury, and the executioner of the underworld and darkness, Hades Novacell.
So if your name's Zagreus, can I call you Zaggy Poo?
You can. You can call me Zaggy Poo.
All right.
Can I call you a piece of crap? Just like Zagreus pretty much called his dad the entire game.
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. No.
Maybe that's not a direct quote.
If you need to throw it over me, say just hey, Princess Consuela crap bag.
Banana hammock.
Ceviche.
So, yeah. Hey, it's so nice to be here with you, Patrick.
Yes, good to be.
We don't do this enough.
No, we don't.
Just the two of us. A little fireside chat. You and me. How are you?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah,
I'm good too.
I'm good, really. I don't even want to be here talking about Hades because I want to play Hades right now. That's how much I want to do Hades.
Well, you know as well as I that about 10 minutes ago, I had to tell you to turn off your PlayStation and quit playing Hades so we could record this. And at the same time, I was like, if he refuses, I'm just going to turn my PlayStation on and we're just going to do the spoiler cast while playing Hades.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Xbox Drive where Sean Capri just drives and does the podcast. We would just play Hades while we're doing the podcast.
The Hades Drive.
The Hades Drive. That sounds awful. Like, where are they going?
What are we doing? Oh man. Sorry. Little cough there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome again, folks. Welcome joiners to the Hades spoiler cast. Today, we want to accomplish two goals. We want to nerd out over one of our new favorite video games of all time, and then also take a deep dive into the gameplay of pretty much a game that has consumed our lives the past week and a half. So we are just going to jump right into it.
Yeah.
Let's begin at the very beginning and talk about 2020.
Why? What? We're going back in time?
Just really quickly to give you a little bit of facts. So Hades originally came out September 17th last year on PC and Switch. I know we're PlayStation guys and we're like, I don't care. But honestly, this game is going to end up being some people's game of the year last year and some people's game of the year this year. It would not be surprising
at all.
Not at all. This game is developed by Supergiant Games. Patrick, have you played many of their games?
What games are from Supergiant Games?
Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre.
No, I have not played any of those games.
All right. Well, there you go. I've played one of the three games. I've had intentions to play Transistor. It's about a 13 to 14 hour platinum. I've also wanted to play Pyre. I don't remember how long it takes to plat, but it's a fun game from what I hear.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know. Are those also roguelike games or are they just different genres?
No, they're more linear. They have a story that's very interesting. They have excellent voice cast, like excellent voiceover, like this game.
Yeah, like this game.
It comes with the territory with Supergiant Games. But this is their first roguelike. And so I did play Bastion and I platinumed it. It has an excellent story, really fun. It's got a very similar feel to it where you have like 4 or 5, 6 main weapons that you can switch around with.
Yeah.
But you can see where there's inspiration. Actually, in fact, there's a few enemies that are the same. They make the same sounds as enemies in Bastion. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
You can you hear that little, I don't know, little chibi sound. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's those little chariots that run around and like make that cutesy little sound before it blows up in your face. It's that one specifically that I remember from Bastion.
Guys.
I hate those guys. But yeah, this game has sold over 1 million copies and is currently sitting around a 93 rating on Metacritic, which is not too shabby. Pretty good. Again, it's a roguelike because it has aspects of the OG game Rogue, with procedurally generated levels, some sort of fight, die, and repeat cycle, and then a progression system in and out of the game. So let's just jump right into the gameplay, or maybe let's jump right into your journey, just in case someone maybe didn't join us last week when you talked about Hades originally. What brought you into Hades? What did you think in the first few hours of playing this game?
Yeah. So first off, I want to get this out of the way that we did receive a Hades code from Supergiant Games. So that's how I am playing it on PlayStation. I also have an Xbox Game Pass, and I know this is on Game Pass as well, but I am playing this on PlayStation because I wanted to go after. I didn't know if I was going to go after the platinum, because it's like
you wanted the possibility.
Yeah, it was a 75-hour platinum. Like, that's a long time to play one single game for me, because I like to play a lot of games. So once I beat it, I'll play another game. So I wanted to try out Hades because this was highly touted. It's highly rated. People talk about this game, but I am not a roguelike or roguelite type of gamer until this year, when I played Returnal. I played Curse of the Dead Gods, and now I am playing Hades, and I am absolutely in love with this game. I started playing this game, and I knew nothing. I didn't read any reviews. I didn't read any like 101s or tips and tricks or anything like that. So I just jumped in and just started, taking it all in. The story, the voiceover, the voice cast for this game is just top notch. Sometimes games I like cutscenes, and I like the camera angles cutscenes give. So I thought this game was actually going to have just you read the words and the paragraphs and the conversations, and it's not the case. And right off the bat, I could tell that this voice cast was done well. So I jump in and I play for like, I don't know, 7-10 runs or whatever. And I feel like I'm a pretty good gamer. But this game was punishing, like absolutely punishing. One, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. They don't handhold you. They don't give you like a tutorial. They're just like, hey, here's the game, figure it out. It took me about 20 runs to finally beat the boss, all the bosses and the end boss and all that stuff. I was getting pretty
your first escape.
Yeah, first escape. And I was getting pretty discouraged. Not gonna lie, after playing for a little bit. Because once you beat a boss, there's no save point. I mean, it's just like Returnal. If you go to the next boss, then you go all the way back to the beginning. And it's kind of like Returnal, where Returnal, you beat a boss, you get to the next biome, and you have the ability to fast travel there in Returnal. But for Hades, you have to start from the beginning, and you have to make another run, and from all the way from the beginning. And when you go back to the beginning, you come out of a pool of blood, and you talk to the same people, all that are in your lounge in the Hades, castle or house or whatever, and everyone has something new to say, and everyone has every character has their own like personality and reasons why they're there. Whether that's
this totally amazed me. So to give a kind of like a perspective on the other side, I am a roguelike and light fan. Like, I have played a variety of them. I'm not 100% sure which was my first roguelike game or roguelite. I think it was Rogue Legacy. But from there, I totally bought into the live, fight, die, repeat process of just doing it over and over again, but learning from your mistakes, and not just learning from them. Like, we've played games like Enter the Gungeon and some others where it's really just you have to learn how to play better. I've always grabbed onto the games where it was a mix, where you had to learn how to play together to play better, but also you had progression systems, like where you could upgrade your life, or you could upgrade your power, you could upgrade your weapons and those kind of things. And so, later on, getting into something like Dead Cells, that has been one of my top 3 games of all time to this point. Getting into this game, I had high expectations. Really? I didn't read any reviews. I did like watch like a 101 video, just because as a platinum guy, I really don't enjoy going in blind. I like kind of just knowing some things for the journey. But getting into this game, I was like, okay, let's go. And as each time I died, I got excited to walk through the House of Hades. Now, for those who maybe are listening and don't really know a lot about this game, or maybe you played an hour or two, a run or two, or escape or two, and then dropped off, this game is all about the main character, the son of Hades, Zagreus, and he's pretty much trying to escape the underworld, and that's your goal, to escape.
Yeah.
And with each, like you were saying, with each death, you would return to the House of Hades, you talk to everybody, and the story would progress. I've never seen a progression within a roguelike where you repeat over and over again. That just, I don't know, it just works so well together, if that makes any sense. Like, it made the world feel so organic inside and out. And that worked with the story, that worked with the progression of your weapons, of your character, both within the house and within each run. Like, as you would progress and you would run into the Olympic gods, and they would bless you with what's called a boon, and they would give you a power to apply to your attack, or to apply to your special, or to apply to your cast, or give you some other perk, and all of them would start working together. And by the time you get to a boss, or you get a few worlds in, stuff is like running together and like mixing together just organically. It's so cool how it works together so organically. Like, it's and playing a lot of these games, like, to watch this unfold, it makes the game so much better when it all works together like that. So
yeah. And when I first started, I was just accepting boons. Like, I didn't even know they were called boons.
right.
Until like, maybe a few hours of playing, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just
I gotcha.
trying different powers. Okay, this is kind of what this god is going to give me as far as a power. This is what the power ups will do. I'm like, okay, I understand that. I understand this now. And that still is like, I've done like 58 runs now,
Yeah.
and I'm still learning new ways, new combinations
Yep.
of powers and of boons and casts and things
Yeah.
and seeing what works for me, for my play style. There's so many different layers to this game. It's not just the boons.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
there's
That's just
ways,
part of it.
like, every time you die, you take all the
The
gems,
resources.
the
Yep.
resource gems, or the darkness, and you use that to upgrade the house. You use it to increase your multipliers
Yep.
for your powers within the list of prophecies.
List of prophecies. They give you resources,
and
or give you things to shoot for,
to
almost
shoot
like
for.
challenges. And
Yeah.
like, okay, while I'm out, I'm going to use this or do this and fulfill this prophecy, so I get more, I don't know, ambrosia or nectar or whatever. Like, there's all kinds of little resources, and they all have a purpose, and they all work together really well.
Yeah, and then there's also the Mirror of Fate, and the Mirror of Fate was where you can use the darkness that you've acquired and put it towards better attack bonuses, or there's one thing that I used almost all of my darkness on every single time, was the Death Defiance.
Oh yeah. You
And
want
the
to get that
Death Defiance, yes. So before I had that, you die, you go all the way back to the beginning. But when you add the Death Defiance, you die, but you come back to life right where you died, with a fraction of your health, so that you can continue your run. And
Yeah.
each one of those were exponentially higher. I think the first was maybe 500 darkness, and then like 1,000 darkness or something like that, to actually
something like that. I think it was 250, 500, and then 1,000.
Okay,
was
yeah,
the last one,
so
because you got 3 in total.
yeah, once I got the 3 Death Defiances, I could get farther.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, that's that. And I didn't realize, so in the mirror, you can actually change. So
Yes.
there's 2 lists,
So
I didn't realize that until I was doing
Yeah.
like 30 runs.
Are you serious?
And I looked
Oh
at the
my
trophy
gosh.
list, because
That's
I'm not,
hilarious.
well, I'm not like you. Like, I don't look at the trophy list. I'm like I go along. I'm like, I'm going to continue to play. I really love this game. And once I started unlocking things, I'll look at the trophy like, okay, what do I need to do to get to this one? It's probably,
Well,
it'll probably take me a lot less time if I looked at the trophy list first, but I don't like like I said before, I don't like to be spoiled. I want to
Right.
enjoy the game for what it is. And
And
then
at the
once
same time,
yeah,
you weren't convinced you were going to even go for the
no,
platinum. So,
I did not think
you
I was
did
going to.
you did X amount of runs just naturally and just went with it. And so, and I know how sometimes you are like, you'll miss a detail, or you'll like, oh, just skip. This isn't important. I just want to fight. Let's get in there and
Yeah,
beat
yeah,
some people up. And it's like, Patrick, there was something over there. He's like,
yeah.
oh
They
wait,
told
what?
you
That was over
something.
there? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I know for me that when I discovered that the two options, that was quite a moment, because there was one of the options on the list. I can't remember which one it is, but it's where it would give you some life with each chamber. And I was like pouring darkness into it, and it maxed out at like 4 or 5 life per encounter.
yeah.
I'm like, well, that's not enough. I need more life than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I switched it over to, I can't remember which one it is, but the green one, because there's green ones and red ones,
Yep.
and you start out with the red, and then you can switch to the green. So now my list on the mirror is like, it's like Christmas. Like
Yeah,
there's
it's a
red and
mix.
green, and
It's a
I do a
mix.
mix of everything. I love that personalization of the mirror. And to kind of keep people in after we're now like 20 minutes into this, we're not going to talk so much about the story tonight. This is part 1 of our Hades talk. We're only going to talk about gameplay. We're going to touch on some story stuff just because how it's related to gameplay. But so stay tuned for part 2 when we dive into the story, because this story is something else, and
Yeah.
it is really special. And I know for me, I have a lot to say about the story. So we're
Yeah,
gonna
and
we're
the
gonna
reason
save
why
that for part 2.
yeah, the reason why we're doing that is because the story ends after you do 10 escapes.
Yep.
But there's also an epilogue, and we want to experience the epilogue before we
Right.
actually continue to talk about the story, because we
To
want to see
complete the
what that
story.
looks like before we
Yeah. You have to
fully.
do a lot of runs and a lot of work. You got to give a lot of nectar. Like nectar you give to characters to raise their
Affinity.
affinity for you,
Mhm.
their liking of you. For like 25 characters, I think 25 to 30 characters. Each one, the first nectar you give them, they give you a keepsake. And then that keepsake gives you like a perk. Like if you give it to Cerberus will give you a collar that will give you extra life. And as you use it, it will level up. And I love if you give me anything that levels up by using it, I'm in. I'm like, okay,
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
going to wear this collar. And you get like Zeus gives you a little lightning ring that when you wear it, he'll be the god that shows up first, and it'll give a higher chance of his boons have rarity and being more powerful and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I
to
love all that.
upgrade those keepsakes. So there's 30 keepsakes. I think there's 30,
Yeah,
and each keepsake can level up from 1 star to 3 stars. To get it fully maxed out, I think you have to do 150 encounters, which is 150 rooms.
yeah,
And then over the course of 30 keepsakes, and that's a lot. That is an
yeah.
absolute
It's like
ton.
1800 rooms, I think or
Yeah.
1800. Yeah, because it's like 80 full runs is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
Is
and
what I read in the trophy guide.
it is a lot. And but to do that, you have to have the nectar, and you have to give
Yeah,
one nectar to all these different people and all these different characters to actually get that keepsake. And nectar is
yeah,
very, very, very hard to come by
yeah.
in
Especially at the
early
beginning.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's just one of the just like pieces of your inventory that you
yeah.
used to upgrade certain things. Like the darkness is for your mirror, and then the nectar is to increase your affinity with all these
Mhm.
characters. And then to get to the epilogue, you have to give all of these characters like 6 nectar each to
Yep.
actually be able to um, form a bond with them.
Yeah. And
Um,
what's cool about it is it's not just a mechanic to get you to the end of the story. Like with each nectar you give, it develops their character, develops their relationship with Zagreus. There are times when once you raise the affinity of like 2 different characters, they'll talk together and you can listen to their conversation. And it
mhm.
all is so interrelated. Again, it's so interesting and such a really cool story.
Yeah, and the
It's
more
worth the
nectar you
time to
give,
do that.
the more it unlocks the rest of the story for that character.
Yep.
So it's really, really neat how you do that. And then also there is ambrosia. So ambrosia is like the thing that after you get
It's like the final seals the deal.
After you give them 6 nectar, or you get that bond formed, then you give them ambrosia to unlock something else. And that's like the either the you have 30 standard keepsakes, and then you have some hidden keepsakes as well that are like they're like your ultimate ability that is like kind of mapped to R2. That's your what is it called?
The call.
The call, which the call is so different amongst every one of the gods, and each one of them does very different things.
What was your favorite call?
Let's see. We got Zeus, we got Poseidon. I don't know. I like them all. They're all amazing. The arrow. Now, was that Artemis?
Artemis, yeah.
Artemis's arrow. Once you get that your god level all the way to the max, I mean, it just kills almost anything. Yeah. Like even bosses, like their half-life, you throw that at them and they're done.
That's how
it's amazing.
I really enjoyed Aphrodite's. She had one that it would do like 3,500 like just in one go, and it's just a little heart that would fly at the boss and just take a huge chunk out of their life. That was one of my favorites. And then I really like the ones that would make me impervious for a certain amount of time and cause damage, like Poseidon or Ares. I did like Athena for a while, depending on my weapon. If I had like a weapon I could just wail on someone, like the sword, I could get Athena's to do like 20 seconds or 18 seconds, and it's like forever, and you're just whacking and just just sorting, they can't hurt you. That was some of my favorites.
I liked the one hit and damage done. Like I didn't like the damage over time calls, because especially when you're fighting bosses, they move quick, and they kind of move away from that call, and you're like, well, that was a waste. That's why I like the one hit. You get them done, and then you don't have to worry about them missing damage that you could have been using elsewhere. There's like and one of the cool things with some of these powers is there is a character called Chaos, and I didn't know about this until I was, like I said, maybe 25 30 runs, that you could go into the underworld. Like those like little circles, those like purple black circles that you could go in.
It's not even the underworld. It's like the chaos dimension.
Whatever. Like you're right. We're already in the underworld. You're going into that chaos dimension, and it's really neat where it's like, okay, you're gonna get nerfed for 4 or 5 encounters. But afterwards, you get a really big.
You're gonna be even more powerful.
So like those nerfs are like, you can't use attack, or every time you use attack, you lose.
It takes away life.
Do not use that one.
I never did that one unless it was super good and I had a good special.
It was so hard because I didn't realize that, because like you said earlier, I don't read things. I'm like, oh, this is gonna give me plus 45 damage for my attack after I'm done. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna use this one. I didn't realize that.
And then you were dying.
I was like, why am I dying so fast? But like those kinds of things. It's like so many different layers within that of upgrading your character.
Now what you're upgrading specifically during those runs is actually your weapon, and so you have 6 different weapons. You had the Stygian sword that you started out with, and then a spear, a bow, a shield, and then later on you could unlock fist gloves, and then I'm not using the specific names because who's got
twin
time
fists.
for that? Twin fists. And then what was the last one? The adamant rail.
The railgun.
The railgun. What was your favorite? Maybe your top 2 favorite
my
go-tos.
So my favorite is the spear. I love how the range it has and the ability to throw it. And depending on the boons that I get, like if I throw like my special, which is throwing the spear, and it does like 50% plus 50% damage to armored characters, I would throw that first and then go after them.
You got to get that. You got to get that by Elysium, because Elysium is nuts with the armored dudes.
Yes. So that is my favorite. But Coming up to a close second is I just unlocked the Railgun,
Oh man, that
and
Railgun.
I unlocked the hidden aspect for that. And
Yep.
the hidden aspect for that, it turns it into like a laser gun.
Yeah.
And so
It's awesome.
I just did a run. So the special for it, you throw a bomb, and but the bomb like sits there and it causes like some DPS. But if you shoot that bomb, it blows up and causes more damage. And then so I just did a run where I got infinity ammo, because you only start off with like 15 or 20 bullets, quote unquote
Right.
bullets with that laser. But I unlocked the infinity ammo, which is I did never had to reload, which was awesome. And then I also got I could throw my special bomb 3 times.
Yep.
And so as I did all that, I was causing so much damage.
You melt them
Plus I
away.
added the Zeus boon, where as I'm using my attack, as I'm using the laser,
Lightning chain.
it chains that lightning bolt to other characters within that area. And so it was just so easy to kill the multiple enemies in one area, especially when I got to the sticks and there's rats everywhere.
Everywhere. Yep.
And it was so easy just to get through that, with that combination. It was by far my favorite combination, because I felt like I was OP like crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. The railgun is definitely my favorite projectile one. I started out liking the bow, but the bow was so weak. It takes a long time to get it built up and
Oh
strong enough to really
yeah.
make a difference. I'm partial to the projectile weapons, but man, that railgun, those
Mm-hmm.
have been some of my best runs and my fastest runs is with the railgun, because
Yes.
you can just hold that trigger down and just da 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 da.
Uh-huh.
Especially when you get that infinite arrow. But I think my favorite go-to that really made me feel kind of powerful in the sense that I could balance aggression and the kind of dashing and evading was either the sword or the spear using the leech upgrades. So whether you would use the sword to hit for 2, it would lower your HP, but you just would hit so fast it didn't matter. And
Yeah.
the spear later on has a hidden aspect that you can unlock that gives you leech as well. But that's my favorite to kind of to play with and to just be really aggressive and just get in there and hit the enemies. So
Oh yeah, and if like I am aggressive, so using the bow was just awful, because you kind of had to like
right.
keep your distance, and I
Yep.
felt like encounters would take forever until you actually upgraded it to where you had instead of shooting like 8 arrows at once, you shoot 3 homing arrows, or your attack, because when you start the attack you need to charge up to shoot,
Yep.
and turning that into more of like a machine gun where it just like
Oh yeah.
shoots multiple arrows.
That was
That's
actually my first clear. I cleared on my ninth run.
yeah.
Now we do need to preface all this and say, even though it's way far into preface, but we did eventually, actually pretty early on, get into God mode. I got in earlier than you did, but
Yeah.
eventually we had to use God mode, which pretty much gave you 20% damage reduction, and then
Uh-huh.
each time you died, it added 2% damage reduction. I got up to 40% for most of my runs,
Yep.
and then I kind of went on that for a long time, the 40%. But then once I got towards the end game, did my 10th run, I had to do my 16 heat, which is a whole other ball game where you can add modifiers. You can change the quality of your enemies, the amount of enemies, how much damage you take, how much life you have, and it can get nuts. You do the bosses where they have different moves and different total playing fields. It took me like 2 or 3 times. I think it took me 3 times to beat the 16 heat. But that's when I died a bunch and got up to 50% damage reduction. And by then I was able to muscle my way through. Actually, I did it today, the 16 heat.
Yeah.
And I unlocked I don't know if you'd unlock the Arthur aspect with the Stygian blade. But it pretty much, when you do your special, you slam to the ground and it creates this aura on the ground. And if you stand in that aura, you get an extra 30% damage reduction, and you hit with extra 30% damage increase, and you become a tank.
Yeah.
Like I got to the final boss, and I hardly dashed, I hardly dodged. I just slammed that aura down, and I just beat the bejangles out of him
Yeah.
into submission. I used up all my death defiance I had within maybe 20 or 30 hit points, but I did it. I beat the 16 heat, And I was like turning all those modifiers all the way down. And now the game's a breeze. I'm like, this is super easy now.
Yeah,
Now
and
that I
that's
turned down those modifiers.
it's that modifier. It's this game. You do the same thing over and over again, but it's very different every single time because the boons are all like random,
Right.
and all the rooms are random as far as what you're gonna upgrade or get. And adding those modifiers just adds another layer
Yeah.
to this game. It doesn't feel stale because you can change how you play.
You can mix it up, make it as hard as you want.
And doing the 16 heat, like I knew that you had to do a 16 heat for the trophy, so I didn't even got to the point. So like Skelly has, he talked to Skelly and he's like, hey, if you do these heats, then you can actually unlock some statues. And the statues weren't even showing yet when I did my 16 heat run. And I ended up completing it and a trophy didn't pop. And I was like, wait a second. Again, I don't read enough to
Right.
figure out what I'm doing. I just know that that's something that you have to do.
Yeah.
And then when they finally showed up, I was like, oh man, am I gonna have to do another 16 heat run? Because that was tough. That was really, really tough.
Yeah, man.
I ended up
Sure.
with 3 health left. I already used all my death defiances, and I had 3 health left by the time I defeated Hades. So I was like, I don't want to have to do this again. But I talked to Skelly enough where he finally unveiled the statues, and I just went up to them and they unlocked for me. And I was like, good. The game knew that I'd already done this.
Right. It kept track.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
What were some of the enemies that you did not care for, that you struggled with?
The early on were the little pink orbs that shoot like the butterflies at you.
Butterflies, yes.
Oh my gosh, they were the death of me. I'm like, where first time I came across
away
them,
at you.
I was like, where are these coming from? What is going on?
Yeah.
And so yeah, those were annoying, as well as the rats. The rats are just like, because I like to hack and slash. Like I don't like to sit back. So I'm like trying to kill them, and then they just throw their like poison at you. And then I'm like, I started to die, and I didn't know that there was like a cure, like little
I had
fountain.
the same thing happen.
I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? And then after I had completed it, that encounter, or that room, the cure or like the poison stopped. And I was like,
see the glowing area.
I was like, oh, that's the thing. You just got to clear the room and then your poison goes away. Like I didn't know that there was a cure fountain. So I didn't realize that until too late.
Right.
I had died in
over.
the sticks, and I was like, dang it. So I got back there, and then I realized, to do the cure in the middle of a fight, just go drink that fountain and then get back into the fight.
Yeah, I did the same exact thing the first time, except I didn't die. I just lost like a death defiance, like 1 or 2 of them. I got down to like my last life, and I was like, okay, what do I got to do? And I just happened to see where, the R1 pops up to cure, and I click on it, and he's like, well, I'm not poisoned. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so pretty much from there, every time I would enter a room, I would automatically like zip around the room to find where the cures are.
Oh, really?
Or, depending on
do
what was in the room. Like if those little pots where they throw,
those are
guys,
chumps.
forget those are chumps. But yeah, with the rats, the big rats, like you and the butterflies, most of the time with most weapons, if you mash the special button, it'll destroy whatever they're throwing at you, or it will knock them back so they can't get near you.
Yeah.
And so I would like spam triangle. I would spam the special button to just until I slowly chipped away at their health sometimes, depending on what weapons I was using.
Yeah, I love like for those, I love having the ice cast where you just throw down 3 of those and it's just like it just pretty much obliterates them.
The ice beam.
You upgrade those ice. Yeah, you upgrade those ice beams, and then they do more and more damage. It's
20 runs later.
So awesome.
I get the ice beam and I'm like, yep, I'm using it.
Like, and it's crazy because I started off with, I upgraded at the mirror, I upgraded it to 3 casts at a time. And I actually like the other cast better, the green cast where you only
gives
have
it to
one.
You faster.
You have one, but then you don't have to wait for that cast to come out of that person or that character, that enemy, before you can get that cast back. So I liked having one every 2.75 seconds. That's one of the ones I'm like, one of the upgrades I like to have is the cast. You get the cast faster. because I like to just set it down and then go fight someone and then throw it and go fight someone.
Right.
Yeah. That ice beam from Demeter is amazing.
Yeah,
It's
for
my
sure.
favorite cast of all of them.
The enemies that really, even still, I would even say, I know I've done around 30 runs to this point. My runs have lasted a little longer on average, but it's the shielded enemies. Like I had a hard time for the longest time with the shielded enemies, like
Yeah.
timing
They're
to get
blocking
behind
it.
them and hit them. They're
Mm.
blocking everything.
Yep.
The first time I fought the shielded boss with the bull, I hid behind those birthday cakes for so long,
Yeah.
and then it took me forever to figure out how to hit and get around the shield.
Mhm.
That was tough for me. And then like you've mentioned, I think maybe we mentioned off camera, off recording,
Yeah.
some of those in the second level, the lava level, Asphodel, you would get some of those boss rooms where there's just a bunch of witches throwing purple orbs at
Oh
you.
my gosh.
The first time I got in there, I didn't have a deflect and I got lit up.
I lose more life in that room than probably against any boss.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, even Hades, like
Yeah.
I am just struggling. If I don't have a
Yep.
deflect power
Yeah.
up to
You're
get
done.
those purple things to go back to those enemies, they're
Yeah.
just gonna continue to hit me.
Yeah. It gets crazy.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
For sure.
Yeah, and so I didn't know I was going to go after the platinum, and it took me 20 tries to finally do one clear, and I found out like, oh, you need to do 10 of these to
Mhm.
actually get to the end of the story. And I'm like, there is no way, absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to, this game's going to hold my attention for that long. But really, in reality, once I hit that first win and first escape, and I started upgrading everything, and I got more powerful and more powerful, and I knew what enemies were doing. I knew what all these boons were going to give me, and when I would pick and choose, because when you go through rooms, you sometimes have 2 or 3 options to go. You know, you get a boon from Hermes, you could get a health upgrade, or you get a coin upgrade, and all these different upgrades. And so going through all that and trying to pick and choose, I'm like, okay, I like this. I like the power up that I got last time. Maybe I'll go after this, or maybe I need some more health because I keep dying. Maybe I need the health. And I continue to upgrade at the mirror. I continue to upgrade at the house contractor, which we haven't even talked about yet. And going through the trading with the broker and doing all the stuff so I could continue to upgrade. And as I'm upgrading, I'm like, oh, I'm getting more powerful and more powerful, and these bosses are no longer an issue for me. You know, I can't tell you the last time I died at any of the bosses on purpose. You know, because there's times where I'm like, I just want to get that trophy, and I want to go back because I need to talk to someone because I wanted to get an upgrade. So I would just die on purpose.
Right.
But it was just like, you become OP because of all the things, and that's why. And then there are things that you need. You need these blood, so many different things in this game. You need like blood.
The blood vials.
To actually upgrade your weapon aspects.
Yep, because each weapon has 4 styles of weapon, which are totally different. Like they even changed the look of the weapon. And so now you go from having 6 weapons to having 24 weapons. It's really cool.
And each one of those options costs blood. And it's really, really hard to come by. You have to trade up. You have to increase your multiple what is it called, where you just change your run with more difficulty, your heats. So whatever the heat runs,
like a modifier.
So as
heat run,
you know, like
all you do is you notch it up 1 and it gives you a fresh set of supplies that you run through.
So as you do 1 heat with 1 weapon, you can't do that heat run anymore. You have to up it 1 more every single time to continue to get upgrades. So that's like the diamonds or the blood
or the ambrosia.
Yeah. So
as you do blood, that's what it is.
Titan blood
vials, Titan blood.
So you know, like that's how you get all that stuff. if you
Yeah.
don't have enough gems or whatever to trade with a broker and all that stuff, which I always stockpile, because once I figured out like, okay, to get all this nectar, I have to go after gems. I get gems to get keys and then trade the keys for nectar. And it's like 5 keys for nectar. And so it takes a while to do that. But once you figure that out, it's way easier to get all that stuff the farther you get into the game.
Right. Once you figure out what you need, what you don't need, once the game becomes easier through practice or through God mode or whatever, you don't really have to focus so much on this or that. If you want to just go for supplies, I mean, even the Black Mirror, the mirror has a supply option that you can turn that up, invest in that, and that'll give you more supplies that you can then invest in getting those things and getting more nectar and investing in the characters. Speaking of the characters, we've not even touched on the story, which is going to be a part 2. And I think we should give our final review and grade in part 2 as well, because I think the story is, for me at least, is very much connected to my review of the game. I think for the most part, this is pretty much just the gameplay review, the mechanics review. There's so much to this game. There's so many more builds and combinations of, and we didn't even touch on the boons between goddesses and gods. You could, when you would grab onto one boon from like Zeus, and then later on from Poseidon, if you met one of them again later, you would get a power based on that relationship and get what was called a duo boon. Like a thunderstorm or something, where the powers of Zeus and the power of Poseidon in your moves are working together. That is such a cool aspect of the game. Like I love, the first one I encountered was called Stubborn Roots, and it's one of my favorites. It's between Athena and Demeter, where when you run out of Death Defiance, you get a health regeneration, 1 HP every second. Your HP continues to go up and up. And so if you get low on health, you can avoid the boss and it'll tick back up again if you give it time. That saved my butt a couple times. And I discovered that just by getting like divine dash and ice beam, and then talking to Demeter again, and she would give me the stubborn roots. I really like that one. But there are lots of duos. There's legendary boons, of course, that are really OP and amazing to get.
Yeah, it's and there's ways like in the mirror you can upgrade certain things where it's like, okay, for legendary boons you can get a higher percentage based on things, or if it's rare or better, you can throw your darkness in there and upgrade that. And yeah, like I accidentally getting the duos. And you can press L1, or no, you can press is it L1? Or maybe it's the touchpad.
It depends on. I changed it to R3, but yeah, it's
okay. You can actually see all the the criteria
through
to
the
get
codex.
The duo. Yeah. So it's there's so many things, and it was very, very, very overwhelming at first.
Right.
But after playing for 45 hours over the past week and a half, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And it took a while for it to make sense, because there's so much that they throw at you. There's so many different things.
I do. But how fun has it been to chat with others playing the game? Like the water cooler talk with people in the Married to the Games Discord, a little bit in the Good Morning Guys Discord, but mainly in the Married to the Games Discord.
More people are playing it. Yep.
But just that water cooler talk of comparing notes and talking about, oh, this happened to me, and just those stories. It's one of those kind of games where you're going to have different stories, different experiences. It's incredible gameplay.
Yeah, and what's great about talking through it on the Discord is giving tips and tricks, like, hey, I did this, I tried this combination of boons and I got this far, but it didn't get me that. What do I do against this boss, or how do I defeat this? Like you said, like going through the Minotaur, and I can't remember their names right now.
Theseus and Asterius.
And when I thought they were the hardest bosses, but as I'm going through, like now I'm totally upgraded on and maxed out all my mirrors. I get to them and I'm like, I know I can beat these guys. I think I've gone. Like you said, I went through. I started out. I didn't have God mode on, I didn't start using God mode until maybe like it
10,
was
11.
Yeah, it was around there. I didn't realize what God mode was, and then I realized it has no bearing on the trophies. So I could still get trophies by using God mode. So I turned it on, and once I got my first run, I did 4 straight clears, and then my 5th clear I died, and then I did another 4 straight clears, and then right now I think I'm on like a 10 clear streak,
Right. Streak.
where it's like I got to a point where like, okay, the only way that this is going to be challenging is if I up the heats.
Right.
And so it gives it just
which you will
extra,
need to for resources, but for the most part, you don't have to up it that much.
at this
You
point
just switch weapons.
I've done so many heats that I don't think I need to do any more heats now, because I've done so many heats with all the different weapons. I've gotten so much Titan blood. I've gotten so much ambrosia and nectar by just farming certain things and going after certain things during runs, that is just making it so much easier. And once you unlock the hidden aspects for these weapons, it becomes a little bit easier again.
Oh yeah, those hidden aspects are OP and fun to play with.
Yeah.
Like, man, they're so fun to play with.
And it costs Titan blood to unlock those, and then if you want to upgrade those to like level 5, it costs more Titan blood,
way more. Yeah,
which I think
is cool.
That Titan blood and the ambrosia is the hardest resource to come by. Right now. Maybe the diamonds, but those 3 are the hardest to come by, and I don't want to use those unless I really, really need to. Because they are just like precious resources.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that concludes part 1 of our Highway to Hades spoiler cast. As is tradition, some quick housekeeping where we fluff pillows, towels, and Andy's candies and tip you off to the GMG news you need to know. We like to stream games. We have a stream team. You can check us out Saturday through Sunday. You can also hang out with us on Discord. There's a link in the show notes. You can tweet with us on Twitter. You can review us on Apple Podcast and Podchaser. And yeah, that's the quick rundown. So this concludes part 1. Look forward to chatting with you, Patrick, for part 2 once we get through the entire story and get that platinum for Hades. So yeah, man. Alrighty, Pat. Along with you, our beloved friends, family, and joiners, go get your good morning this week, and may God bless and guide your lives as you live, as you work, and as you game.